Bhagavate Sri Ramakrishna. Letters of Swami Vivekananda. Letter number 14, written to Sh.Pramadadas Mitra from 57 Ramakanta Street, Baghbazar, Calcutta, 26th May 1890. Dear Sir, I write this to you while caught in a vortex of many untoward circumstances and great agitation of mind. With a prayer to Vishwanatha, please think of the propriety and possibility or otherwise of all that I set forth below, and then oblige me greatly by a reply. 1. I have already told you that at the outset that I am Ramakrishna's slave, having laid my body at his feet with teal and tulsi leaves. I cannot disregard his behest. If it is in failure that great sage laid down his life after having attained to superhuman heights of gnana, bhakti, love and powers, and after having practiced for 40 years stern renunciation, non-attachment, holiness and great austerities, then where is there anything for us to count on? So I am obliged to trust his words as the words of one identified with truth. Point number 2. Now his behest to me was that I should devote myself to the service of the order of all renouncing devotees founded by him, and in this I have to persevere, come what may, being ready to take heaven, hell, salvation, or anything that may happen to me. Point number 3. His command was that his all-renouncing devotees should group themselves together, and I am entrusted with seeing to this. Of course, it matters not if any one of us goes out on visits to this place or that, but these shall be but visits, while his own opinion was that absolute homeless wandering suited him alone, who was perfected to the highest point. Before that state, it is proper to settle some way to dive down into practice, when all the ideas of body and the like are dissolved of themselves. A person may then pursue whatever state comes to him. Otherwise, it is painful for a practicing aspirant to be always wandering. Point number 4. So, in pursuance of this, his commandment, his group of sannyasins are now assembled in a dilapidated house at Baranagar, and 2 of his lay disciples, Babu Suresh Chandra Mitra and Babu Balaram Basu, so long provided for their food and house rent. 5. For various reasons, the body of Bhagavan Ramakrishna had to be consigned to fire. There is no doubt that this act was very blamable. The remains of his ashes are now preserved, and if they be now properly enshrined somewhere on the banks of the Ganga, I presume we shall be able in some measure to expiate the sin lying on our heads. These sacred remains, his seat and his picture, are everyday worship in our mutt in proper form, and it is known to you that a brother disciple of mine, footnote, Shashi or Swami Ramakrishnananda, of Brahmin parentage, is occupied day and night with the task. The expenses of the worship used also to be borne by the 2 great souls mentioned above. 6. What greater regret can there be than this, that no memorial could yet be raised in this land of Bengal, in the very neighborhood of the place where he lived his life of sadhana, spiritual struggle, he by whose birth the race of Bengalis has been sanctified, the land of Bengal has become hallowed, he who came on earth to save the Indians from the spell of the worldly glamour of Western culture, and who therefore chose most of his all-renouncing disciples from university men. Point number 7. The 2 gentlemen mentioned above had a strong desire to have some land purchased on the banks of the Ganga and see the sacred remains enshrined on it, with the disciples living there together. And Suresh Babu had offered a sum of rupees 1,000 for the purpose, promising to give more. But for some inscrutable purpose of God, he left this world last night, and the news of Balram Babu's death is already known to you. Point number 8. Now there is no knowing as to where his disciples will stand with his sacred remains and his seat. And you know well, people here in Bengal are profuse in their professions but do not stir out an inch in practice. The disciples are sannyasins and are ready forthwith to depart anywhere their way may lie, but I, their servant, am in an agony of sufferings, and my heart is breaking to think that a small piece of land could not be had in which to install the remains of Bhagavan Ramakrishna. 9. It is impossible with a sum of rupees 1,000 to secure land and raise a temple near Calcutta. Some such land would at least cost about 5 to 7,000. 10. You remain now the only friend and patron of Sri Ramakrishna's disciples in the northwestern province, that is Uttar Pradesh. Great indeed is your fame, your position, and your circle of acquaintance. I request you to consider, if you feel like it, the propriety of your getting the affair through by raising subscriptions from well-to-do pious men known to you in your province. If you deem it proper to have some shelter erected on the banks of Ganga in Bengal for Bhagavan Ramakrishna's sacred remains and for his disciples, I shall, with your leave, report myself to you, and have not the slightest qualm to beg from door to door for this noble cause. For the sake of my Lord and his children, please give this proposal your best thoughts with prayers to Vishwanatha. To my mind, if all these sincere, educated, youthful sannyasins of good birth fail to live up to the ideals of Sri Ramakrishna owing to want of an abode and help, then alas for our country. 11. If you ask, you are a sannyasin, so why do you trouble over these desires? I would then reply, I am Ramakrishna's servant, and I am willing even to steal and rob if by doing so I can perpetuate his name in the land of his birth and sadhana, spiritual practice, and help even a little his disciples to practice his great ideals. I know you to be my closest in kinship, and I lay my mind bare to you. I have returned to Calcutta for this reason. I had told you this before I left, and now I leave it to you to do what you think best. Point number 12. If you argue that it is better to have the plan carried out in some place like Kashi, my point is, as I have told you, it would be the greatest pity if the memorial shrine could not be raised in the land of his birth and sadhana. The condition of Bengal is pitiable. The people here cannot even dream what renunciation truly means. Luxury and sensuality have been so much eating into the vitals of the race. May God send a renunciation and unworldliness into this land. They have here nothing to speak of, while the people of the northwestern province, especially the rich there, as I believe, have great zeal in noble causes like this. Please send me such reply as you think best. Gangadhar has not yet arrived today and may do so tomorrow. I am so eager to see him again. Please write to the address given above. Yours, etc. Vivekananda.